Yo, what is up, YouTube? This is Josh over here at American AF Dumpsters, Trash to Cash. We are back. I took a little bit of a break, as you guys saw. I wasn't able to finish up my 30-day challenge, and I'll be the first one to admit I failed miserably at that challenge. But I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and like being here when I come back. But anyways. We are here. We are doing the Trash to Cash live stream, and I've got one heck of a guest on today. I have followed him for a while. Before I introduce him, though, if you guys have, I'm sure you guys have already seen who he is, but before I go ahead and introduce him, make sure that you guys hit that like, subscribe, smash that notification bell, and I will put a link to his channel immediately once this goes live on the YouTube right on the top of the. He's going to get the prime spot, the prime time location of my description. A link to his channel. Make sure you guys go over there, show him some love. But we have Lou with CFL Dumpsters. I am going to bring him on pretty daggone quickly because I don't want to make him wait. What's up, Lou?
What's going on, guys?
Man, so super glad to have you on here, man. Thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
All right, so CFL, Central Florida, is that what it stands for?
Yeah, Central Florida Dumpster Services.
And the L stands for Lou?
No, it's short for Florida.
Okay, I got, man. All right, let me start this over again. Can we start this over? Can we reverse this whole live? And I did not understand that FL stood for Florida. But anyways, all right, so Central Florida, where are you out
of? Tampa.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I spent several years in Orlando, and my sister went to Tampa University. I think she went. It's like home of the Gators, right?
It's University of Florida.
Okay, I don't know where she went to, but she went to some place with a gator on it. It was green, but whatever. All right. So, anyways, Lou, you've been in business for how long, brother? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business, what you do, what you've done?
All right. Yeah. As far as the dumpsters go, I've been in business a little over a year. We started last August 2020. And prior to this, I've had several businesses. We've had an RV rental business that we built to sell, an inflatable business. We've done landscaping. We used to do terminal cleaning for ORs and stuff. So pretty much all the businesses, that we've had, we basically started from the ground up. And my main bread and butter right now is an event rental company that I've had for 15 years, coming up on 16 years. We had 2 locations in 2 counties here locally, and then COVID decimated us, so we're back down to 1 county, 1 location, and I'm not getting any younger, so I wanted something that I could continue to work in. As I get older. I'm 42. And, I've had a couple back surgeries, and, I know that the, time is short as far as the inflatables, because it's hard, heavy work. And, I looked at a bunch of different business models, and I basically settled in on dumpster rental. But, yeah, that's my story, man.
So, I got some questions on that, but before I get started, guys, if you're watching the live stream and you're on Facebook and you want to leave a comment, please make sure you put your name on there first or what your company name is. If you guys are hearing everything okay, go ahead and comment below that you can hear us okay. We want to make sure I haven't got any comments yet, which is pretty unusual. So I want to make sure you guys can hear us okay and everybody's on here. Hit those comments. I don't see any comments. Oh, there we go. Oh, I see them now. I had the wrong button. I see plenty of comments. My bad. So, again, if you're on Facebook, make sure it's been a while. Dude, I took a whole week off almost, from doing any of this stuff. So, I'm kind of rusty. But anyways, okay. So, you said you started in kind of August. Was COVID kind of like the do or die kind of, not the do or die, but was COVID kind of like, okay, let's diversify a little bit. Let's get into a different kind of business. Was it because of COVID, or was it something else that kind of brought you to it?
No, actually, this was something that, I've been doing like market research and kind of looking at for probably a little over a year and a half, 18 months or so. I guess it took me a while to like kind of build up the capital because I knew I wanted to go all cash. I really didn't want to borrow. Um, so, it was a long process. I went through like talking to different people that were in the industry, and actually a guy out of Louisiana. I met him at a convention that we go to every year in November. It's called IAPA. It's over there in Orlando. He was doing inflatables. He was new to inflatables, but he was, kind of old salt to dumpster rentals. And, we got to talk, and one thing led to another, and he kind of intrigued me. And, that's kind of, when I started kind of researching and planning. And once I settled on it, I knew I was going to pull the trigger. COVID was, I guess, kind of came along. Um, obviously nobody saw it coming, but it just kind of came along, and it just kind of worked out. We pulled the trigger, shortly after COVID.
Gotcha. Was it kind of, I mean, how scary was it to jump into a new business venture, spend money when, I mean, everything was just kind of up in the air? We had no idea what was going to go on. So, I mean, how scary was it, and what did you have the support of your family? I mean, how important was that to you?
Yeah, it was good, man. I mean, my wife backs me. She trusts me, because I think she knows like I'm real diligent about before I jump. I'm going to research something until I feel comfortable, until I feel like I know enough to safely, hedge that bet, I guess. But for me, it really wasn't scary. I knew, you know, in the first couple weeks of COVID, we didn't know what to expect. But about a month into COVID, um, rentals started coming back for the inflatables.
Really?
Um, yeah, man. I mean, even through the pandemic, we were booming because everybody was home,
Sure.
right? And so we took extra precautions and stuff. So I really wasn't worried about it. I knew this was a gamble, but then again, I knew going into it that at the very worst, I could get the majority of my money back because I would have hard assets that I could sell off. So to me, the risk was, okay, maybe I lose 10, 20% on my investment, on the hard assets, but I'll be able to recoup the majority of my money. And that, I think that's the good thing about, dumpster rentals is you can always get your money back. My cans are worth more today used than they were, when I bought them new.
Right.
Same thing with with my truck now. So it wasn't real scary. I kind of felt like there really wasn't much risk just because the hard assets would allow me to recoup.
Dude, I think that's super important. Like, I've talked to several people who were kind of scared of getting into it, and at the end of the day, I don't think. Not that it's not a big risk. At the end of the day, it's hard work. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna make money and I'm gonna become multi rich or big time rich because I'm you know renting out dumpsters. But
Right.
the risk is, if it's not for you, if it's something that you just didn't realize how much time you had to put into it, if something else came up, then at the end of the day, literally the only thing you really lost is your time, because if you can't sell a used cans right now, fairly new though, or a roll off trailer, or even dump trailers or cargo trailers, I mean, it's really hard not to sell them right now. I mean, everybody's kind of looking, and I think it'll stay like that for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And this business is a little different. I think the way that I looked at it from the start was, if I continue to pour money into this business, and in the beginning I had to pour in all my own money, right? But as I grow, now my equipment is making money, and that money that I'm making, it'll allow me to put, back into buying more hard assets. Um, at the end of the day, the good thing about this business is like, you know, let's say you pour 100 grand in cash, liquid, you probably recoup 80K of that, if you had to with the hard assets. But the thing is like as you grow, as you buy more cans, as you buy more trucks, as long as you maintain them, you take care of them, it's money in the bank, man. Because at the end of the day, I mean, everybody knows what the market is right now. There's a shortage of cans. Will that be forever? Probably not. But you can almost demand a premium because it's ready now. And if you bought it today, as soon as it hits the ground, it can go to work. And that's what people want. So, um, yeah, man, I think as I grow, ultimately the ultimate goal is, several hundred cans, multiple trucks. At the end of the day, man, I think even at that level, you'd still be able to liquidate all the assets and pull a pretty penny out.
Sure. So
It's
you've
different
been
than like,
say again?
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I guess it's different in the sense that, like, if you had a fashion business and you buy a bunch of inventory, you got, sweats and shirts and hats. If they don't sell, man, you're out, right? And if they don't sell, it's most likely because people don't like them. So you're going to sell them at a discount. You're not going to be able to recoup the majority of your money.
Right. No, that makes sense. So you've been posting a little bit lately, like last day or two, as far as like raising your rates, like raise your rates. And I'm like, dude, like literally, I literally just sent an email to the software DRS, which I'm wearing their shirt, by the way. So Jeremy, if you're watching, thanks for the shirt. It's not sponsored. They do not sponsor me whatsoever, but I do promote them because they're good people. But anyways, and I know you use them too, right, Lou?
Yeah, I love DRS, man. Jeremy's good people.
Yeah, he is. He is. He goes hunting a lot on the weekends, and I haven't got an invite yet, so I'm waiting on that invite. But you know, whatever. But so you've been posting about raising your rates. I sent them an email because I need to raise mine up a little bit because number one, my transfer station price went up. Everything's going up right now. I haven't gotten a raise raising my insurance rates yet, but everything's kind of going up. Costs are going up and stuff right now. So and demand is there, right? So give me a little bit of other than that. I mean, I probably kind of answered the question, I guess, but other than that, I mean, why have you been telling people to raise their rates and are we selling ourselves too short? Are we doing work too cheaply? Are we costing ourselves money? What is the deal there?
I mean, everybody should raise their rates for all the reasons you said, right? But I think this goes back to probably one of the most asked questions that we get, right? Like, what are you doing for marketing, right? So I've seen some people post, and I think some people feel, like, oh man, I'm losing jobs for a $10 difference or whatnot, right? Well, you didn't want that customer anyway, right?
Yep.
So marketing is probably number one. If you're going to own a business, like that's the number one skill like you should have, okay? If you're struggling to get your rates that you're asking now, it's not because the market's hard or it's flooded. It's because you don't have enough eyes on your business. All right. And so if you have 100 people a month looking at your business and the average conversion rate is, let's say, 10%, right? You're only going to book 10 rentals, right? But if you get 100 people per day to look at your site and you still have the same conversion rate, you're going to have a new problem. The problem's going to be you're not going to have enough cans. And it's basic supply and demand. And so I think a lot of people get into the business and they're having a hard time maybe generating enough eyes to hit their business. Somebody will pay the rate that you're asking. You want to know how I know? Because brokers will take our rates and then they'll jack them up $100 and they'll take that $100, right? But they'll still book the same can with the same tonnage. We'll still do all the same work, but that broker's going to get the profit. So why can't we cut the brokers out and just charge what they charge, right? So raise your rates, right? But also raise your marketing. You can go to college for marketing, that's great, but you can also buy a good course from somebody who, really knows what they're doing as far as marketing goes. I think it all boils down to marketing. It's not that people won't pay your rates. It's that you just don't have enough eyes on your business, right? I don't know what most guys charge, right? But for like a 20, I'll charge 400. Right? 30s, 500, and then 40s are $600. But I'll get a lot of calls where you get tire kickers and people, oh yeah, maybe I'll call you back. I'd say probably half of those people end up calling me back because nobody else could get a can to them today, right? So your service has to match, I guess, your pricing, right? You need to be able to get it. That's the convenience, and that's why they're going to pay extra because you can get it to them today or you can get it to them tomorrow. Or maybe some of these other guys can't, right? And that's an advantage. While you're small, while you're little, use that to your advantage. You can be more nimble. You can be a little more flexible than these bigger guys. Hey, we're 2-3 days out. I've got 5 trucks, but I can't get to you, in that amount of time. If you're small, use that to your advantage, man. Be nimble. And, in the meantime, while you're building your business, just really build up your marketing, build up your SEO, dial in your Google ads, your Facebook ads, keep whatever converts the highest, right? But yeah, man, definitely, raise your rate. I think a lot of people sell themselves short where they might be like, oh, I'll just charge 300 for a 20 and I'll include, 2 or 3 tons. At the end of the day, is it worth it to jump in your truck, hook your trailer up, load a can, go deliver it, right? And then 3 to 7 days, whatever it is, you got to go back out and pick it up to make $50? That's not worth it to me, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so don't sell yourself short, especially if you're new. You just invested a lot of money, right? You took a big, risk as we were talking about. If you don't want to have to liquidate that and only get 80% of your money back, it's easier just to, raise your marketing knowledge. Your business will only grow to the extent that you do, right?
Right.
But yeah, man, I'll always, be looking for ways to increase your rates. Um, I'm a firm believer in that, man.
But at the end of the day, Lou, I think a lot of people get into it, right? And they buy a couple dump trailers or maybe a roll off and a few cans, and they see they. I still struggle, and I struggle with it every week. I struggle with sometimes I feel like sometimes we're doing a disservice a little bit because again, people see a 10-minute video on YouTube and they see that we're out there and we're and in those 10 minutes we may be delivering 4 or 5 cans, and they think that those 3 cans that they have need to go out 5 times a week or 4 times or 3 times a week every single one at first, and it's just not that's not the way it works. And
Right.
it's a gradual increase in business at the end of the day. And you're not going to get the repeat customers in the first several months or first couple weeks. You're not going to get the long-term customers. I mean, it's a gradual increase in business. And every day that you're out there working, whether it's just one dumpster delivery, some days you might not have any, but every day is a step towards more revenue, more bookings down the road. You know what I'm saying? It takes time. It takes time for, like what Lou said, your SEO to start kicking in. It takes a lot of time for SEO to kick in. Your Google ads are pretty instant, but it also takes time to start building that the schedule and building the bookings and stuff. So just because your phone's not ringing in 2 3 days because you ran an ad on Facebook, don't get disheartened. It's about continuing the grind, continuing the hustle, and it doesn't mean going out there and delivering dumpsters. It means the grind is posting everywhere you can on Facebook, including yourself in every single group that you can in your local cities on Facebook groups, and letting them know what you do. Just a bunch of different things. It's not one magic pill. It's not one magic post or ad that you're going to run that's going to turn around and get that phone to ring. It's a combination of all of those things put together that will eventually get your phone ringing and then continue to do so as long as you continue to provide good service.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you were saying, man, there's no, one magic bullet. Um, in the beginning we tried because I think I'm a big believer in SEO, search engine optimization. And the reason is because there's longevity with that, right? So like for my inflatables, if you search, any one of like 15 different key terms that people will actually type into Google, we pop up, almost number one all the time. And that's county-wide, right? I don't pay for advertising anymore, but it took a long time to get there. I've been doing
Right.
this 15 years and I've been doing it consistently, right? So if you can think of like marketing as like a flywheel, right? And a flywheel's heavy, takes a lot of energy to get it turning. Um, or a rocket, right? A rocket uses what 80% of its fuel in just the takeoff, right? But then to like maintain, right? Just like with a flywheel too, man. I mean, just to maintain, um, throughout the rest of the trip, it takes a lot less fuel. You can conserve a lot less energy, right? So in the beginning, it's going to take a lot of effort. I mean, like everyday effort. You have to be consistent. It's not something you're going to try. It's something that you do. And as you go along, it's easier to maintain your marketing, right? Even if you're not running cans, even if you're sold out of cans, it's easier just to maintain that marketing because at the end of the day, what you're fighting for is top of mind, right? You might not need a dumpster today. You might not need one tomorrow. But if I'm in your face every day, when the time comes, I'm going to be the guy that you call, right? And so in the beginning, try everything. Everything that's free, do it, and do it multiple times a day. Right?
Right.
You can hire VAs, virtual assistants, to post on Craigslist for you for like $5 a post. Right? So have them post 3 times a day. Right? If it's free. Facebook Marketplace, you got to be careful, right? Because they don't want you to promote your business. But if you post in a certain way, you can get up there and you can get free marketing. Again, with the VA, you can hire a VA to constantly doing social media posts, right? We got fall, we've got Halloween coming around the corner. Good old face to face. So you can buy data lists for like, I don't know, 50, $100 of like a list of all your contractors in your county. Start banging the phones, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to. If you don't have rentals, if you're sitting looking at your 2 hands and watching the clock turn, man, like be making phone calls, right? So it just depends on how bad you want it, man. If you're gonna do this as a side hustle, okay, a little less time goes into it, right? But like, I got into this to like build a business, and so marketing is number one, and what you focus on expands. And so as I've gone throughout this year, I've kind of dialed in what works for me, what doesn't work, and then once you find out what works, okay, cool. Now what works the best out of all those things that work? Where am I getting the highest conversions? Who's calling me back the most, right? Who's willing to pay my rates? And so you'll learn to dial that in over time, and then it's just a machine because you've taken the time to dial it all in, right? You can say, okay, well, I'm going to drop $1,000 in this, and I know how much is going to come back, right? And it should be a multiple. So if you're going to drop $1,000, you're not dropping it to get $1,000 back. You're dropping $1,000 to get $5,000 back,
Smart.
right? And so when you pay that marketing bill, you're glad to pay it because you know you're going to get a return on it, rather than going, oh God, I got to pay $1,000. I hope this works. That's really not the way to do it, man.
Right.
You should be tracking everything. And today it's easy, man, because you've got Google. They'll show you Google Analytics. They'll show you your conversion rate, how many phone calls you got, so on and so forth. But with that being said, my cost of acquisition on the money that I'm spending is $63 per rental, right? And that's on the money that I'm spending in marketing. So even if you get it dialed in, it's still a pretty good chunk, right? It's $63 per can based on how many rentals that I've run over the last year. So you should know like how much money it's going to cost you to acquire that customer. Now, the good thing is, once you have acquired that customer, chances are they're not going to go anywhere else. It's not a guarantee, right? But chances are they're going to call you back for second can, third can, fourth can, especially with contractors. If you get in, you get good service, you've got a decent, rate, and they're willing to pay your rate for the service that you offer because you're small and you can be nimble, you can be quick, right? You can run cans after 4 o'clock after the landfill closes. Those guys will keep on calling you back. To give you an example, it cost me $63 to get this contractor, but they're tearing down an old Winn-Dixie here, right? That one client that I paid $63 to acquire ended up being like $12,000 over 2 weeks, right? So you don't know who you're going to get, right? So when you hear $63, it sounds like a lot, but it really depends on what you're getting for that money.
So explain to everybody how you came up with that cost of acquisition, or that cost per customer, the cost of acquisition per customer. You take your total, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, okay, like here, for instance, 226 rentals over the last 8 months. Okay. Average ticket was $490.96. And I don't have my Google numbers. I think I left it in the truck. Right now I'm only paying to advertise on Google Ads, right? So I take the amount of money that I spent on Google Ads, right? Then you're going to narrow that down to the conversions, and then you're going to figure out the phone calls, right? The phone calls that you get needs to have, you need to set it up so it has an identifier, in Google, and then you can kind of figure out how many sales you derive from that, right? But what I did here, for the sake of simplicity, you can call it napkin math, is I took the amount of rentals that I had and then the money that I put in, over the last 12 months into Google, right? and boiled it down to $63. You know, I try to keep the math like, real simple. I could probably dig in a little further, but I figure it's about $63 per per conversion. On the website, it took about 6 months for the SEO to start kicking, right? About 11 months time frame, it's really going good. So like, I don't know if these are okay. So the last quarter, my GMB basically had like 13,821 views. Right. When I'm talking about GMB, I'm talking about Google My Business. All right. You optimize that, you get it in that 3-pack, right? So anytime you search for somebody, I don't know, say plumbers, you're going to get that 3-pack where it has the phone number, has the company name, and their reviews, right? That's where you want to be. It's like the coveted position, right? So the difference from the first GMB to the second is vast, right? So the first GMB, I think the stats were like they get like 85% of all the calls. All right. There's only 15% 15% left for 100%, right? They get 85% of all calls. So the difference from 1 to 2 is huge. The second down on the list is only getting like 10%, and the third one down on the GMB list is only getting 5%, unless you have a differentiator, right? If you're the first GMB, right, only has 5 reviews, the second one maybe has 10 or whatever, and then you pop up because you've been working hard at getting reviews, and you have 300. Who do you think they're going to call first, right? So that there's different factors, there's caveats to that, but statistically speaking, like 85% is going to call that first, GMB. So it's super important that you try to aim for that, I guess. So 13,821 hits. That's basically like 600 people a week. 2,400 a month. Average conversion on that of people who actually call us is going to be right around 4.2%, right? So just because they see it doesn't mean that they're going to call you. Only about 4%. So you could say every 100 people that see your site, about 4 of them, 5 of them are going to actually call you.
And when you say see your site, let me just make sure that we're talking about an impression of your site. They literally don't click onto your site, but an impression of your website domain or your website title, right?
Yeah. So in this specific, as I'm talking about, just the GMB, right? So just your Google My Business, and then just the people that actually call, right? Because I don't care about who clicks on my site at this point. I just care about what's making my phone ring, right? So for about every 100 people, I'm getting about 4.2 that are going to call me. And then out of those, my conversions usually, it's right around like 37%, right? So what's that? Out of every 5 people that call, about 1.5, maybe 2 are going to actually book with me.
Sure.
Right. So it's that numbers game. It's just basically, it's a funnel. You gotta get as many as you can in at the top, and then you funnel it down so you actually make your sales.
It literally goes down to what you said earlier, and I thought that was genius, and I think I'm gonna somehow save the little clip. But I mean, you literally said if your business is not succeeding, I mean, it's because you don't have enough eyes on your business at the end of the day. It's either that or you're, way off on price. But even if you're way off on price, I mean, you still get a little couple stragglers here and there that will either, overpay or whatever. So, I mean, you got to have the numbers on your business or the eyes on your business, whether it be Google. And Google My Business is free. So if you're not doing GMB, I mean, you're really just shooting yourself in the foot at the end of the day, and you might as well just throw money out the window. But you got to have the free platforms, even Yelp. Don't pay for it. I'm saying be out there, be free. Yellowpages.com. It's not about being on Yellow. The odds of somebody seeing you on yellowpages.com are pretty nil, right? But it's the link that you'll get onto your website that creates value for your SEO. It all kind of just flows into everything. Kind of works with itself to kind of make your business successful and more eyes on it. So, Lou, I think you're 100% on board there. One question I had, I know what it is. Your VA, your virtual assistant, you can get them through like Fiverr or other places. Just wanted to touch on that. You mentioned a couple times. For anybody who doesn't know what a VA is or what they do, can you explain that real quick?
So a VA is a virtual assistant. Typically, they'll be like from the Philippines. They'll be from another country. And so They're relatively inexpensive. You can get a VA for as little as $100 a week. Just depends on what you want them, want to have them doing, right? Some of them charge by hour, some of them charge, by job. It just depends. But there's a ton of sites out there where you can find virtual assistants to do these basic tasks. You're gonna have to, excuse me, you're gonna have to, weed through them. Um, I've had VAs do phone calls in the past, and they don't speak really good English, so you kind of have to like work through it. But if you're looking for like native English speakers, you're going to pay a little bit more. But what we use them for is like, if we're going to do Craigslist posts, we'll have templates already pre-made up. And it's like, hey, here, all you have to do is copy and paste, put this image, and go. So you've already set up everything. They don't have to type anything. All they got to do is copy, paste, and post, right? And I know that seems like, oh man, I can just do that myself. Well, try doing that when you're running 6-7 cans a day.
Yeah.
You're going to want to try to get that stuff off of your plate and delegate that to people as you grow. You really want to focus on growing your business and not really try to be working in your business all the time, right? In the beginning, you're going to wear all the hats, right? You're going to have 50 different hats. You're going to have to play all the freaking roles. But as you grow, as your cash flow grows, let your cash flow lead you into, okay, I can afford a VA now. Okay, I can afford somebody to do my SEO. Okay, I can afford somebody to do my marketing over here. You want to get rid of those hats as early as possible. So it's going to allow you to focus on, what's important, growing your business, making money, making contacts,
Yeah.
The majority of your time, or at least for me, is spent on money-making activities. Running a can doesn't make me, yeah, sure, it makes me money, but it doesn't make me more money. I'm focused on doing that one thing, right? So all my downtime is spent either, making phone calls, working on, ads, SEO, you name it, things that are going to be generating income, padding that top line.
So working on your business, not in your business. The E Myth book is actually a book that I read years ago, and it's really good. So if anybody's looking for a book to read, I think that's a good one, and I think you hit it on the head there. Um, One thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned earlier that I thought was, what was it? One second. Well, I'll think about it here in a second. Let's go. Let's move on a little bit. You were talking about. Well, you started your channel with your roll off trailer, right? Is that you went from roll off to now you got the big boy, the bad Peterbilt. Why don't you talk to us a little bit on what made you made the leap from the roll off to the Peterbilt, and how you like it so far, I guess.
All right, so I started with the trailer just because I bought it used. I got a good deal on it. And I knew from the start, like I'd been told multiple times, like start with a standard rail, right? Because like I wanted to build a business. Like I want to build this into short-term goal, $1 million, gross $1 million business, right? Long-term, multi-million, multi-county. So I knew like I wanted to start out with a standard rail. That was like the most important thing because I knew going forward I was going to buy a truck, and if I bought a proprietary rail, I'd have to sell my cans and then start over and all that whole thing. So I was like, no. So there's only really two companies that build trailers with standard rail. It's Nedland and Protainer, right? I went with Protainer because the shorter cans, I was like, well, when I get a truck, the shorter cans, I'm going to have to like weld on short stops onto the rail, to make it DOT compliant and all that. So I was thinking ahead. I wanted to save money down the road, right? So I bought the Protainer only because it was a 20-foot rail. So it was like I think like a 26,000, GVWR standard rail, 20-foot long. So I could just buy standard cans. And then that's how, basically I started. That trailer, this is another reason why I started when I did. That trailer took me almost 6 months to find. Because like once you find a used Nedland or Protainer, man, it's like gold, bro. Guys jump on it like that, right? I bought my trailer from an auction in like Michigan. I got it for like, I think $13,000. All
Well,
right. And, yeah, I put some money into it, put some tires, fix the motor, all this stuff. I think I sold it for like 22K. So I sold it for more than what I bought it. And that helped me, get some capital back so I could actually buy the truck. But I realized early on, like having the trailer, I was running into weight issues. Even though it was a 26,000, GVWR, these guys would want me to haul concrete and trees and dirt and all this stuff. So I would take the jobs, but man, then I would, clench my butt cheeks and bite my nails, dude, hoping I could actually tow it, right? And it wasn't that the trailer couldn't haul the weight, right? It was that even with a 450, I had to use every braking mechanism just to slow down the weight, right? So it really wasn't hauling the weight and getting it on the trailer. It was more the stopping, right? So I remember, man, I had like a 13,000 in the can, right? And then the can's another 4,000. And then, so what's that, like 20? And then the trailer's like 6,700. So I had like 27,000, that I'm hauling behind this F450. And you think, man, that's a heavy duty truck. Dude, I had the exhaust brake on. You know what I mean? Like I had to like the electronic like downshift to get that thing to slow down. I don't think I exceeded like 30 miles per hour, man. I was terrified,
mm,
right? But in dumping that can, I had overages with tonnage. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, this is offsetting my dump cost, right? So I think at the end of the day, if you want to do more in a side hustle, you want to build a business, the name of the game is to haul weight. And so that's kind of why I moved to the truck. I planned to move to a truck about the 2-year mark, right? I wanted to build a client base, all that stuff. But the first month in, I was running into weight issues constantly, right? And I think what a lot of people don't realize is like, okay, I've got a 16,000 pound trailer. Well, that's cool. The can weighs, 3,000. So you have to subtract that from the 16. So now you're down to 13. And then the trailer weighs like 5,000 pounds. All right, well, cool. So effective weight maximum is like 8,000 pounds, what you can haul in the actual can, right? But the hydraulics are only made for, a certain, weight. So that's kind of where where I started running into issues. Where I'd have to, kind of finagle like back under a can and use every leverage point I could just to get that can, onto the trailer. And then when I got to the dump, the hydraulics wouldn't lift it. So I'd have to call over a dozer, and they'd have to put the tooth underneath my can and help me lift it up, And that all took time. Time is money, man.
mm.
So I did the math. I sold my truck, sold my trailer, and then I had some cash set aside, and I ended up, finding my truck. But I had already been looking for a truck, and I wanted a heavy spec, 80,000 GVWR roll-off truck. And so, since I bought it, man, I haven't had any weight issues yet. And I've had some pretty damn heavy cans, man.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them, but so we little guys, right? The little trailers, the residential, non-commercial trailers that shouldn't be hauling probably really heavy stuff at all. Um, us, we don't take dirt, we don't take concrete. I mean, were you getting to heavy weights because you were just kind of taking whatever and not telling people you had limitations, or how were you
Well,
getting to those heavy cans? Because I don't get that many heavy cans. Like I get people that say they want to, but I kind of cut them off right there. If they tell me they got concrete, I mean, I just tell them flat out, I can't take it. I'm not taking concrete. I'm not taking dirt.
yeah. So from the, in my business plan from the start, the plan was always to really like target contractors, demo companies, that type of stuff. So, I'd get this data list and I'd start hitting the phones and stuff, and they'd be like, "All right, we'll call you on our next job." So when they call me back, the last thing I wanted to tell them was like, "Hey, you're limited on weight."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I took that risk, man. I really wanted that business, and that's still, what I continue to hit. Um, because those guys are going to be the, bread and butter year round. We still run residential, but those cans, the dump fees are next to nothing, man. I mean, they're like $60, $80, you know, and those are great, but you're only going to get one, right? So like that residential customer, like I picked up two today, they only did one can, right? I want to maximize efficiency. So if I have, 3 cans in one spot and I'm turning them once a day or twice a day, that's more efficient than like, okay, I'm going to go do one, right? Multiples drive down, your costs and make it a little more predictable, um, to kind of plan and make money that way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, most of the contractors are calling me back. I didn't want to tell them no. But when I got out there, I'd kind of tell them in a roundabout way, like, hey, you see the trailer, I can. Only do so much. So most of those guys were cool, but they stopped calling back. They don't want that hassle, right? They don't want, oh, well, he can only carry this much. So instead of only getting 3 cans, now we're going to have to do 6 because we can only fill it halfway. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, so like, I mean, for people that are going to run primarily residential, like you won't run into this problem, right? But like my business plan from the start was like to try to get those demo guys and stuff like that. But, I mean, they're loading heavy, man. They're putting drywall and concrete. Hell, man, you name it, bro. We did Laurie Park Zoo. Like, oh, we only got 5 yards of dirt. I think I did a short on it or a video. You can see, man. I think it was like 32,000 pounds. Something ridiculous. But I mean, you'll run into that with residential too.
I think the biggest thing that you said though is like, so your cost of acquisition on a customer, on a retail residential customer who's just moving once every 10, 15 years, I mean, it's going to be much higher, obviously. And then your contractor, who you pay one time to get them as a customer, but then they continuously use you even at 2, 3 times a month, even. That 60, what was it, 63, $64, it gets spread out, right, over that same customer over all those different times that they book you. So it's much harder to get a residential customer because they're going to only use you once every so many years. It's maybe 2 times or 3 times, but it's pretty rare. So I mean, that's a pretty smart move.
So like if you're small and you're targeting residential, that's fine, right? Like there's no issue with that. There's pockets of residential where you can gain that same benefit, right? So like landlords, property management companies,
Realtors.
Yeah, you might pay that $63. However, they're going to put you in the Rolodex, man, and they're going to keep calling, right? Because they're going to have more, especially now. The eviction moratorium's up, dude. So they're going to be calling, man. They got stuff to clean out, so they're going to call, multiple cans and stuff. So if you're running residential and you're running a trailer, really think about and pull apart, how can you target those pockets where, people are going to need multiple, and I found it's more so from the property management companies, and again, you can buy that. You can buy data lists of anything, man. You can target specific demographics, only property managers, only real estate agents, only, you can buy data lists and it's worth it, man. Because that one data list you might pay $300 for, you'll pull the business out of there. It'll be worth the money, but you got to make the calls. That's the only thing. Pick up the damn phone.
Which brings me back to the original thing that I lost my train of thought earlier, but you said something that was really important I wanted to focus on too, was, you've got to continue to advertise even when you're sold out. And that's something I wanted to go back on because that's so hard. Because when you're sold out, it's when you're sold out that's the last thing that you think of in your mind is about, oh, let me run another ad. Let me make sure my ads are posting, put it on Craigslist, or make sure my ads are running on Google Ads or whatever. But that's what will keep you busy during the slow times. I myself struggle with the up and downs of the roller coaster of business, but when you continuously run ads, it will level out that, hopefully it'll level out and an angle, right, going up, that business that comes in. So
we started out by talking about the post I made talking about raise your rates, right? And this is why it's so important. Okay. So if you raise your rates up high enough, you can always call all the other dumpster guys in your area. Okay. You're going to keep your marketing going. You're going to keep all the customer data, right? And if your rates are high enough and you've got the calls, broker the leads. Why not? Somebody else out there is hungry for business, right? And if you're doing, let's say 20 yards, okay. So like I brokered whatever I can't handle, I broker. Right now, it's not as much money, but I keep all the customer data so I can remarket them, I can re-email them, I can recall them, right? But that customer's still getting serviced, and at the end of the day, you know, it's better to have too many people calling and you not have enough cans. That's an easier problem to solve than I don't have enough people calling, so I'm hungry. I better take this at the smallest rate possible, right? So if you can solve that problem and you can get all the leads, you're in the driver's seat. Now your problem becomes, okay, I don't have enough cans. Who can I give these cans to where I can still make $50 or $100? And that, in the end, is way more valuable than like, okay, I got to run my own truck, my own maintenance, my own tires, my own fuel, my own time, all that stuff. When you could just pick up the phone and say, hey, I ain't got it. You got it? All right, cool. I'm going to send over the address and the contact, and that's it, right? But you keep all the rest of the data. You schedule the delivery, you schedule the pickup. That's an easier problem than trying to solve like, oh God, where am I going to get business? That's the problem I'd rather solve, 7 days a week and twice on Sunday than the problem of not having enough phone calls.
Yep. $1,500 on a 30-second or a minute phone call is a win-win.
Yep.
All right, so a couple questions I want to ask real quick before we get to the questions on the Facebook and on YouTube. So make sure if y'all got a question, I've got some highlighted, and we're gonna go through real quick here. But a couple quick questions that I get all the time, and I want to start asking all the guests. If you could change one thing from the time that you started until now in your business, what do you think that one thing would be to make your business better, or to have avoided headaches, I should say?
All right, so I'll tell you, man, my biggest mistake is not buying 2 truckloads of cans. Like I have been adamant since the beginning. Like I wanted to do this all cash, right? So I put my own cash up as a starter, and then the equipment builds its own capital after that, and the business basically grows itself, right? But I paid an opportunity cost. I really paid a big cost because when cans are $3-4 a pop, I could have just easily borrowed the money for single-digit interest. It would have paid for itself easily, and I would have had, triple the cans, man. So I regret, back last year when I started, sticking to my guns and like, I'm only going to do this cash. Like I should have just borrowed the money and, bought the truckloads of cans, man, because right now they're astronomical. I think I saw like 40s go on Richie Bros the other day for like 13 grand, 14 grand for 40s. When 40s a year ago were like 6,500, 7 grand, But that's the price people pay, man, because they're going to get them as soon as they hit the ground. They're going to go to work. If you call a manufacturer, you're going to wait 4 months. So people pay that price of convenience, and they'll recoup the money eventually. But at the end of the day, it's just money, man.
Yep.
I wish I would have borrowed it.
It's still a long-term asset, right? At the end of the day, what other business can you get into that you can spend 14 grand and that asset can make you money for 10, 15, 20 years down the road as long as you take care of it? I mean, it's a lot. It's still, I still look at it from different viewpoint from another business, but it's, to me, it's still a low cost of entry, even at, you need multiple, right? It's not just one, but a $13,000 can versus, a vehicle that just depreciates over time. I don't see the can depreciating as long as you take care of it, paint it and fresh, give it a fresh, paint job and some welds every now and then. But.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and that's the thing, man, is like these cans, they're steel. If you keep them painted, every couple of years or whatever, they shouldn't really rust too bad. They'll last you for years to come. It's really much different than like inflatables. You basically buy a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, asset. It depreciates over 2 years, and then you got to replace it, right? And what you're going to sell it for is probably 30-40% of what you bought it for. It's not, if that, unless you run it till the wheels fall off, and that's just going to the dumpster. It's a complete write-off. With this, you're not replacing assets every couple of years. Maybe your trucks, if you're running that many miles, but these cans last for a really long time, and the way that inflation's going, man, it's a good hedge, a good business hedge against inflation, because they're going to be worth more than what you're paying for them right now, anyway.
For sure. Second question: what is the best decision on the opposite spectrum? What is the best decision you feel that you've done that you would recommend to somebody else in your shoes moving forward?
Buying the truck, man. I wish I'd have bought a truck from the start. Um, it's literally provided me opportunities that I would have never had with a trailer, man. Man, that truck is it just works, man. You don't run into weight issues. It's just faster. As far as picking up and dropping off, I can get into tighter spots. Um, the contractors that are calling me, whereas they didn't call me back before because they didn't want to be weight limited, they call me back, all the time. Um, I wish starting out, I would have bought a truck. Again, I paid another cost because I waited, and because of the chip shortage and people can't get new trucks, the used market was literally decimated. So I paid another big price for that as well. Um, I wish I would have bought it from the start, and I would have been able to get it cheaper, I think.
Gotcha. And your final best piece of advice, it might be the same, it might be that same one, but your best piece of advice to somebody who's starting out in the business.
Hmm. Man, yeah, I think 95% of people have good intentions, but only 5% are actually doing the actions of, intentional living, if you want to say. Um, don't get analysis paralysis. Like, analyze, obviously do your due diligence, but don't be scared to jump, right? Like, just get it moving. Whatever you don't know, you're going to learn along the way, right? And if you make the mistake, cool, you'll learn from it, and then you'll adjust your system or your process or your money, and you'll be fine, right? Um, so don't just have good intentions, man. Do it. What do you got to? I mean, what do you got to lose? Like, just do it.
Exactly.
Um, at the end of the day, it's I guess I could say that because I've been an entrepreneur for so long. But at this point, man, it's only money and time. Other than that, if you do your due diligence, it's a risk, but it's calculated. You
Right.
know, and if you want it bad enough, it's out there. You got to pick up the phone. You got to get the contacts. And you can't be scared of being told no. I still listen. I still have contractors a year later. They don't buy from me right now. They haven't. They tell me no every single time, but I still touch them once a month. All right. And they still tell me no because their guy's cheaper or whatever. I will tell you, though, that there have been guys that were getting cheaper cans, but as soon as the guy drops the ball, man, they're calling me because I'm top of mind.
Right.
Right. So, like, just don't be scared, man. Get started. If you want it bad enough and you're willing to grind, you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's go to a couple of questions here. My buddy over at H Progressive Construction. Good guy. Good guy. I think he's the one that he always goes fishing. I'm surprised he's not fishing today. Lou, what's your biggest problem in your business right now? Cans, trucks, etc. What do you have a problem right now, Lou? Other than finding
Yeah,
cans, I
man.
guess.
Cans. Yeah. Cans. I've got a stack of capital, and the earliest cans I can get is like 3 weeks out. Um, I had three used can deals where I made a deal for cans and then they were sold out from under me. So here's what happens. You get guys with like 10, 15 cans, and here's little me. I come in, I'm like, I only want 5. Okay, cool. So I go and I arrange shipping and loading and all this stuff, right? And I get everything ready, and like 2 days later, I come back like, oh, we sold them all, man. Guy wired cash. I mean, when you get into this and you're up against these bigger players, man, I mean, they've got the cash and the credit to put the lights out, man. It's nothing for them to come in and drop 100K, you know. So even the used can market's been tough because these big guys will just come in and they'll literally wire money sight unseen. They don't care what the cans look like, just get
Yeah.
them to me.
Yeah,
Right?
because they can pretty much fix them and do whatever they have to do to put them on the road right away.
Yep. Yep.
It's not hard. I get it. Looking forward to starting soon. What are important things he can put to put in the contract? I don't have a username on this one. Other than weight restrictions, what can and cannot go in the dumpster, damages. What would you say? Do you have an agreement, Lou? And what does your agreement look like?
I mean, it's pretty much, standard. Um, you probably want to go through prohibited items with a fine tooth comb and then how you charge. So, I mean, some standard contracts have like wait times and they charge per minute and all this other stuff. Just keep it simple, and as you go, and you'll learn like what you don't want and what you want in your business. Um, but just make sure it falls within the law. In other words, it can be backed up, in a court of law. You can't just be putting crazy stuff in there. But I think most of the standard contracts that you can find through like DRS or Docket, um, these different software apps, suffice. I have yet to have an issue where a customer complains because they put a tire or a propane tank or they had, cost in overages and stuff. Man, I mean, they know. So,
Hey, well, let me ask you, man. I have a question. So, how much was your jump in insurance, if any, when you went from the roll off trailer to your truck? Talk to us a little bit about that.
yeah, doubled. So I went from paying with the F-450 in the trailer, had commercial insurance, $1 million with an aggregate, and my deductible was like 1,000. Um, it's like 6,500 a year, I think, maybe 7 grand, something like that. When I went to the semi, so here's the catch: if you got a new CDL, you got a new DOT, they're gonna bang you over the head, right? So cheapest, if you've got no speeding tickets, no accidents, no nonsense on your license, the cheapest you can get is going to be like 13 grand, 12, 13 grand. So about $1,000 a month, right?
One driver, one truck.
Yep. So, however, when you hit the 2 year mark with your DOT and your CDL, it almost gets cut in half. I mean, it's a significant drop, right? As long as you don't have any out of services or DOT, knocks or points or whatever, your insurance rate will drop, right? But yeah, it's pretty significant, man. It was double, almost double. Um, it's a
And
lot, man.
being a sole proprietor or sole operator on your truck, you're how do I say this? So you're enrolled into like a random drug test and like a consortium with your drug test program, or how does that work for you guys over there?
So because we only run local, like inside 50 miles or whatever, I don't have to, I don't like do all the stuff like the OTR guys do, like over the road, right?
Okay,
So I'm responsible for like my own DOT, my own drug testing. You know, I had a DOT inspection, but I can fill out those forms myself, right? Now there's a caveat. I mean, obviously I want to be in compliance, so I do them because if I don't, I get pulled over, I'm going to be out of service, right?
sure.
And that's a knock on my CDL license. So if you're going to do it yourself, like just make sure you're in compliance because they can fine you, they can put you out of service until you have those things in line. But luckily, man, Florida's like the wild wild west when it comes to roll offs. I have yet to see DOT, man. If
Gotcha.
I'm honest, I don't
Gotcha.
see them at the landfills or the transfers. I don't. I mean, dude, I don't see them. I don't think I've ever seen a DOT. Now, watch, knock on wood, man. I'm gonna see them tomorrow.
Well, we'll make sure to edit this part out of the YouTube video before we upload it. So we'll make sure we cut that out so they don't see us on the.
If you're DOT, I love you.
Right. All right. Facebook user, I don't have a name. Hey, I'm 18 with a dumpster rental business and 2 cans at the moment. Any advice? They're rented out every week. First of all, if you're 18, you're doing something. I mean, more power to you, man. At 18 years old, Lou, do you remember when you were 18?
Yeah,
I don't. That was a lifetime ago, brother. Me
I
and
was
you
in
were
the
right about the
military.
same age, man. 18 years old. Golly, dude. If you're doing something at 18, just keep doing it and make sure you're doing it the right way. My only suggestion is, I mean, keep doing it, stay in the business, and you'll get there, man. You'll get there. Starting out young,
So hold up, this dude. Okay, all right. You got 2 cans at the moment, all
yep.
right? On average, the average dumpster rental company will rent each can about 2.5 times a month. That's on average. Okay. So you should be trying to like hit
Hold
that.
on. How many days? What are your rental periods?
Well, no, I'm just saying in general, right? So
Okay.
like an average dumpster rental company will rent about 2.5 times a month each can. That asset will turn 2.5 times a month. So if he's only got 2 cans, that's going to be what, 5 rentals for the month? Is that right? Am I doing the
Right.
math right?
Yep.
Yeah, 5 rentals. Okay, so this is why you got to know your numbers, right? You need to figure out what your average days are in timeout. How many days are you averaging for those cans to be out, right? And then you need to figure out how can you stay profitable while lowering the rate to encourage 1 to 3 day rentals. You follow what I'm saying? So like for me on a 20, I might charge $400 for a 10-day rental. Okay. But I want to turn that can more. So I'll run the numbers and say, okay, well, if I cut this down and I knock 25 bucks off the price and maybe half a ton off the tonnage that I include, right? Is it the same money or is it close? How much am I gaining or how much am I losing by lowering the price to $375 and then encouraging only a 1 to 3 day rental, right? So you gotta kind of run the numbers and figure it out. You're gonna have to play with it until you kind of find that happy medium, but it's a means to an end. So with those 2 cans, also do the math on your net, right? I'm not talking about your gross. I'm talking about your net, like what you take home, what you're going to pocket. Figure out how many rentals are you going to have to turn to get that next can, right? So that way you know, right? Each rental that goes out, you're like, all right, I'm 2 closer, I'm 3 closer, I only got 5 left, because you're running that. I call it a sinking fund. So I know like how many rentals like I have to do to get another can, right? And so it's kind of motivation because like, all right, I booked another one today. I booked 3 more today. I'm just that much closer, right? So kind of play with it, man, and see how many times you can turn those cans. For us, right now, in a 20-day month because we don't work weekends. We do about 1.4 bookings per day in a 20-day month, which equates out to like, I don't know, 28 rentals in a month, which ended up being over 8 months, 226 rentals. All right, our average turn per month is about 3.5 times per can.
How many times?
3.5. Because your assets are only turning. I mean, everybody thinks like, okay, I got 2 cans. I'll turn them once a week or I'll turn them twice a week. But really run your numbers to see if you're actually doing that. And if you're not, figure out why. Are people going over? And if they're going over, well, then maybe your issue is instead of charging 15 bucks a day over the 3 days, you need to really whack them. If they go over the 3 days, on the 4th day, you're going to get 75 bucks plus 15, so it hurts. Now they don't want to keep it past 3 days, right? I mean, sometimes like early on, that's what it takes, right? And maybe people don't like that, but that's what's going to take for you to hit your numbers, right? I mean, it's all negotiable. It's all what you want to, all what you want in your business, But the more cans that you have, the less times you're going to turn it, per month, typically, because you can leave them out there longer. You don't really need them to come back because you got cans on the yard, that type of stuff. But if you're really wanting to, drill down to your numbers, figure out how many times each asset is going out per month. And then figure out ways that you can manipulate that to encourage shorter rental times.
So I'm really curious, man. So I really want to know your. Okay, so on average, your dumpster, your 20 yard is going for about $400, and that's for a 10-day rental.
Well, yeah. So we offer up to 10 days.
Up to 10 days.
Yeah. But early on, we realized like, okay, these are sitting out there too long. They're only turning 2.2 times a month.
Right.
So I said, no, that can't happen. I need them to turn faster because I'm limited on cans, right? So I knocked 25 bucks off the price, and we did 1 to 3 day rentals, and people really like that, and so more people are booking the 1 to 3 day rentals. But then on that 4th day, we charge them 90 bucks, right?
$90.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got to be where they're going to really have to think about keeping it that 4th day because I want my can back.
Right.
I can't turn this money, right? Now, if I have contractors I'll tell them 10 days, but I know they're going to turn it before 10 days. Right.
Right.
So it really depends, man.
I got you. Okay. All right. So Charles Mother says, Lou, you're a wealth of knowledge, dude. I gotta agree with him, man. Lou, I love having you on this channel, brother. Guys, trying to learn this business, you're definitely trying to get a consultation with you. Lou, do you do consultations?
Yeah, I do, man. Dude, I've had people stop into the shop, and I'm like, who the hell are you?
That would be a problem.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, I'm like, can I help you? And they're like, yeah, you're on YouTube. I'm like, dude, I'm working, bro. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't mind helping people, you know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. I put up my stuff on YouTube because, like, I want to remember my journey, but I want to also help people along the way, right? So I don't mind helping people. The thing is, though, is when you put up on a platform like that, you've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry wanting to take from you, right? I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, like, hey, can I ask you some questions? I'll get guys like call, and I'll talk to them. But before you know it, 45 minutes, an hour's gone by, and that hour could have been spent on the phones trying to drive more business or, whatever the thing. So at this point in my journey, man, I look at time as money. If you want my time, I do charge for it, man. So I do offer consultations, and I'll give the time and stuff, man. But like, I don't think I'm going to do it for free anymore, man. It's getting too hard. I spend 8 to 10 hours a day in the truck, and the last thing I want to do, man, when I'm at home with my family and my kids is like talk to somebody about business. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to put that like out there to be a dick, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know, dude, think about your own life, man. Like nothing's more important than like my family and my kids and getting time with them,
I hear you, brother. I hear you 100%. Jamie Meyer says, to hit your $1 million gross goal, how many trucks and cans do you think that you're going to need? That's a good question.
You can do it with 2 trucks, probably around 65, 70 cans. It just depends on your turn rate and then what your average ticket is. There's a lot that depends on that, right? But you can definitely do it with 2 trucks. I know a guy here locally. He runs 2 trucks. He's got I think 100 cans, and he's doing like anywhere from 110 to 150 a month gross. So it's, I don't know, 1.6 million, 1.7 million.
With 2 trucks, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do it with 2 trucks. And you got to think, man, I mean, these guys are running, 7 to 10 cans a day. And that's putting some out, and then, but I mean, well, here, do the math, man. I mean, so let's say your average ticket, because you got multiple sizes, is $450 million. And this doesn't include like overages, travel fees, wait times, clean runs where you don't have any dump fees for like dirt or concrete. You're looking at about 2,000 rentals, but it actually would be less than that because like we'll do a lot of runs where we don't have any dump costs. So like we do, we run dewatering cans for a phosphate plant. Another company rents the cans to them, but they can't get out there to move them in timely fashion. So they call us and we charge $500 for each can that we move. If we're there on site over 45 minutes, we charge $2 a minute, and so it just really depends, man.
So even with your numbers, you're looking at, let's say $1 million, right? Divided by 450 average ticket cost, right? Which is 2,200, give or take, divided by 12 months, 185 cans or movements per month. Divide that by 2 trucks, right? 92, and then divide that by 2.5.
Yeah, 20-day month. That's 4.6 cans a day per truck.
40 cans. Did I get that right?
No, each truck would have to, put out in sales.
Each truck 40 cans, so about 80 cans, give or take, 70 to 80 cans. You hit it on the head, right? 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Are you going to buy a backup truck anytime soon?
Yeah, eventually. So part of having standard rail and why I think it's really important is because I had a couple times where my trailer was down. I just called my buddy with a truck, standard rail, and on the truck it went, and that was it. To rent a truck, if my truck like had catastrophic failure, right? Let's say I turn a crank or whatever. To rent a truck, I think per week is like $2,500. So I make sure to keep, at least a week's worth of a rental truck if I need it. But yeah, man, I do plan to buy a backup eventually. My priority right now is everything's going towards buying new cans. 25K doesn't get you real far with cans, man. It's like
25K. Say again. Last part.
25K in capital might get you like 5 cans right now.
Yeah.
If you buy used, you might get 6.
See, that's my one worry, right? Going hook lift, I only worry that it's going to be hard for me to find other hook lifts because I think the hook lifts are a lot less, obviously, out there than there are standard cans. So I talked to my guy, I talked to Bram with Keystone, and I asked him, are we going to so for the original cans that I had, we're not going to do the cable pull. He's going to put the D-ring on there, but I think moving forward, I'll make sure to build all new cans with. I mean, they're all standard rail, but they're not. They won't be. They don't have the front rollers, right? Like a normal roll off. So I think that's right.
So to put a dog box and rollers on it, I think it's like $250.
Okay.
Difference in can when you're buying them. So like that was the thing going forward because hook lifts are so much faster. I think I'm going to buy my cans with dual 54-inch hook and dog box, for cable pull because it an extra $250 per can, whatever, man. I mean, but there's more cable cans than there are hook lift. You're right.
Yeah, especially here. I don't know if that's it depends on the market that you're in or the area. If there's hook lifts or is it cable pull more or the other, but I know around here too, same thing. It's definitely a lot more cable pull. I hardly see any hook lifts out there.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up, Lou. I don't want to hold up your time, man. Facebook user says all I want to say is Lou got into this business because of you. Thank you so much. Learned a lot from you and Josh. I think that's what it's all about, man. I know you're in it for the right reasons, brother. Now that we've talked before, we regularly talk. I think you're a good friend, man, in the market. I love being able to contact you and just reaching out and having questions, man. I think you're an awesome guy, dude. So for real, 100%.
Yeah, likewise, man. Hey, before we go, so a lot of people ask, like, how much money can you make in roll-offs? I run the numbers forwards, backwards, sideways, all right? In the last year, without paying myself, 39% is probably the max I've been able to achieve. So if you make 100K, 40 grand is what you're probably, take home. If I pay myself, that goes down to closer to 30%. It's like 29 and a half or whatever. Now I'm sure I have some leakage, but I really haven't looked just yet. I need to figure out, where I can tighten up. And then I also need to run the numbers forward for multiple trucks to see if my, my net margins will increase. But yeah, man, about 39%, all costs. Now, I don't have any payments, right? I only got advertising, insurance, repairs, maintenance, my telephone, my DOT, my tags, fuel, and dump fees. That's it, right? I don't have any payments on anything. So if I did, I think these margins would probably be less. But you got to try to run as tight as you can, starting out. Yeah, man, that's all I got, bro. Josh, I really appreciate you guys, man. All you guys that, that said I've been able to help you in some way, man. It means a lot to me, man. It really does. Like, I guess my efforts don't go unnoticed, man. I appreciate you guys.
Definitely. 39%. That's kind of what we were talking about with Justin a few weeks back. A good 30 to 40%. So I don't know. That's what we're all shooting for, right, dude?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like I said, you're awesome, Lou. I love to have you on the show, man. Love to have you back eventually, sometime soon or anytime down the road. Thank you for your time, brother. Make sure that you guys check out his link in the description below. I will put it right on the top as soon as this video goes live. If you're not following him, you're not doing something. What is that TikTok? If you ain't following Lou with CFL dumpsters, then where the hell you at? Anyways, I'm gonna leave it on that. That's terrible.
Hey,
But
man,
Lou, thanks again, brother.
at the end of the day, hey, at the end of the day, always remember, man, you can have reasons or you can have results, but you can't have both.
Amen to that. With that,
I
we will
appreciate
end
y'all,
it.
man. Later, bro.
See ya.